mistakes. No do-overs. Look out for each other. This is the fight of our lives.
He's pretty good at that, right?
Avengers Endgame. Rated PG-13. Tickets on sale now.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. Surprise, surprise, brand new Avengers Endgame trailer they just dropped, so we gotta break it down. There are a couple things that you probably noticed that are misleading about the footage too. They've taken a couple things out digitally and it's easier to spot this time because of corresponding shots that are also in that footage. We're only a couple weeks away from it hitting theaters. We're doing that IMAX ticket giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite moment from all this footage on the video. There were a bunch of people in my timeline asking me about Hulk in this big scene where all their hands are in the middle, but I'll explain what I think is going on here because there are 9 hands in the middle and we've only seen 8 people in that lineup when they're walking past camera. So we'll start at the beginning of the footage and work our way through. We'll talk about the misleading scenes too. So you get the Captain America voiceover that sort of anchors everything, saying, you know your teams, you know your missions, so we know they're going to be dividing up into a couple different groups. Scarlett Johansson recently revealed that they shot with at least 3 different camera units in different places simultaneously at times. So there's at least 3 different groups of Avengers. We've seen behind the scenes pictures of some of the groups later in the film, so we know what some of the teams are, but not every single person. So there are a couple of people that are sort of floating around we're not really sure about, like Thor and Captain Marvel. What are they doing later in the film? While they're flashing all this footage talking about the teams, they show you Iron Man in his new Mark 85 with the gold comic book arms in what seems like the New York of the 2012 Battle of New York during the original Avengers movie, as if this footage is taking place during one of the quote-unquote missions that Captain America is talking about. You get a big wide shot of an empty Avengers hangar bay where you later see them standing. It seems like this is before Thanos comes back and destroys the Avengers base. You get a wide shot of them a little bit later in the film after Iron Man has come back and rejoined them. It's hard to tell exactly when this is happening, but because they have Hawkeye with them there, it seems like it's a little bit later in the film, and Rocket is wearing his comic book uniform, which he is not wearing earlier when you see Nebula and Iron Man first come back. Even though a lot of this footage seems like it's from the first hour of the film, it still seems like this is happening much, much later. Even though while they're still talking about the different teams and missions, they've flashed to Black Widow by herself, just firing the gun. That's from a little bit earlier in the film, also kind of mixing and matching footage from different parts of the movie. This is from part of the film where they all start to break down a little bit and show you how much what's happened is wearing on them emotionally and physically, where she's trying to calm herself down, goes into target practice. Of course, that's something that Black Widow would do to calm herself down. She's so messed up inside, she starts missing the target, then forces herself to double down, gets her shit together, and starts hitting it again. So it's just the same for all the Avengers. They all have moments like that early in the film. Then even though they show you the suit up moment from War Machine and Ant-Man, there are probably other people standing around them there. That's probably from a different part of the film because we know that Ant-Man is with Iron Man, Captain America, and the Hulk. So when we're talking about different teams, I don't think that War Machine and Ant-Man are on the same team. But the funny thing here, though, is that they do show you that scene of Thor and Captain Marvel together, and even though we know that that comes from earlier in the film because we got that opening scene a couple days ago, there are a lot of people that are wondering where Captain Marvel is later in the film if she's so big early in the film and so overconfident about her chances of taking Thanos all by herself. Of all the theories that I've seen, I do like the idea that Captain Marvel, after their unsuccessful first attempt against Thanos, tries to go somewhere else to rally help and bring it back, and that's why she's not around for a lot of the film. And Thor as well does the same type of thing. So like in the scene here where you see most of the original Avengers except for Hulk and Thor, where are they at? Maybe Thor also goes off into outer space to the 9 realms to search for the Asgardians and try and rally help, being the King Thor. Because I do think they're trying to give them some big seminal comic book moments in what is one of the few things we haven't seen Thor do yet. We haven't seen him be quote-unquote all-father Thor that much yet. It would make sense that he would try to rally some help from them and build an army and try to bring it back. Because the Chitauri are also a big thing during Avengers Endgame, and then obviously they've been teasing this other big threat, even though I'm not expecting a giant brand new comic book villain to enter the mix. There's still a lot of theories about that, a lot of speculation, so it's still wide open to theory crafting. But it just feels like there's a big part of the film where Captain Marvel isn't around because she's off doing something else, trying to get help, and will be bigger later in the film. And Thor is also playing to his strength. He's this big cosmic character, so he's off doing cosmic things, trying to rally help that way. But then you're asking, who is the 9th hand in this circle here, because we've only seen 8 of them in the white suits before. When we last saw them in all those big white suits a couple trailers ago, there was Iron Man, Captain America, Rocket, War Machine, Ant-Man, Black Widow, Nebula, and Hawkeye. Those are the 8, and of the other people that it could possibly be, there's only Thor and Banner, because I don't think that Captain Marvel would be one of these people wearing one of these white suits. Kevin Feige said the whole reason for putting them in white suits was they'd never done a moment where all the Avengers are wearing matching outfits. That's why I think that this extra 9th hand is either Banner or Thor, and while people think that this giant chunky fist is the Hulk's fist, if you look at the white concept art of the Hulk suit, he doesn't have any fingers on his gloves. Because he's the Hulk, his suit is probably built to expand, but while he's hulked out, why would he wear gloves? So I'm just assuming that if Banner is the extra hand in here, that he has not hulked out yet and it's just a normal human-sized hand. Or it's Thor, because we have seen Thor wearing white suits in the concept art and all the toys recently too. Hopefully that explains why this one hand is really big though, because War Machine's suit is just literally a white version of his War Machine suit. It's not like Iron Man's where it's normal size and it can just become whatever he needs it to be. You look in the background here too, there's this weird looking device with all these lights on it. It probably has something to do with the quantum technology and all the wrist devices, which you see in some of these shots, but not when their hands are in the middle. So if you look at the side here, you see Rocket looking up when he's joking about Captain America like he's really good at giving these speeches, isn't he? And Ant-Man's like, yeah, right. You see this hand sticking out next to Rocket, and it has one of those quantum wrist devices sticking out on top of the fist. But when everybody holds their fists up, they're all clean, and they're all holding their left hand up. And even though it seems like Ant-Man's wrist device is on his right hand, so we wouldn't be seeing it in this shot, in the behind the scenes, you notice the Captain America's wrist device is on his left hand. So theoretically, you should see at least a few of these hands having wrist devices on top of them. So they've digitally removed them because they don't want you to think about those yet, but we see them in the other shots, so we know that they're going to be a big deal during the movie. Right now, it seems like the teams are going to be, based on some of the behind the scenes and what we've seen from the other shots in the trailers, is that it'll be Captain America and Iron Man leading a team with Ant-Man and the Hulk also with them. I don't know that Thor is with them because it all seems like they're traveling through the events of the original Avengers movie, and Chris Hemsworth said that he had to wear a wig during the movie. This is Thor behind the scenes while they're shooting those scenes, but just because Chris Hemsworth shot new footage for these moments doesn't mean that present-day Thor goes back into the past with them. It could be the old version of Thor and Loki that they're interacting with, and it's only a couple of the Avengers from present day that go back to that moment. You see the Benatar jumping away from Morag, so either that's happening earlier in the film or it could be part of this quote-unquote team business that they're all on because that's where the Power Stone was. We're still speculating about Thor and Captain Marvel. Like I said, they might be off doing other things in outer space, rallying help from different places. But the one group that we don't really know that much about are Black Widow and Hawkeye, because you see Hawkeye running through the tunnels, which seem like they're underneath the Avengers base, running from what seems like those four-legged dogs, the Outriders, when Thanos comes to destroy the Avengers base. I'm assuming that's what this is all part of. Then there's still the question of which team Black Widow is on, because we haven't seen a lot of footage of her from behind the scenes later in the film, but she did say something funny in a recent interview. She was doing a press junket with Denai Guerrera, who plays Okoye, and started to talk about how much fun it was to work with all these other women before Denai Guerrera shut her down. Don't give away spoilers. So it seems like Scarlett Johansson was implying that Black Widow is going to be spending a lot of time with the Dora Milaje in Wakanda, or whether or not they stay localized to Wakanda or they come somewhere else to help out. When Captain America says, no mistakes, no do-overs, I also think that that's really telling, because I think that they've lost the ability to just unsnap everyone or just redo everything using the Infinity Gauntlet, because that is the ultimate do-over machine. We know that this is happening much later in the film after the first attempt at killing Thanos and taking the gauntlet, so something happens during that first fight that renders the gauntlet inert. Either Thanos destroys it or something happens to it that renders it unusable, so there is no Infinity Gauntlet in present day. I know there are a lot of theories about them constructing a second Infinity Gauntlet. It just sounds like Thanos, when he comes back to fight him here in this moment with this giant sword, is not wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, because if he was, what would stop him from just snapping everyone here in this moment again? Why would he take the time to fight them? So it just seems like for a large portion of at least the middle of the film, there is no Infinity Gauntlet in existence in present day. But more to the Hulk of it all and this big fight here, I still think the first time we see Hulk in the movie isn't until he comes back to blow up this base. Banner is just caught in the explosion, and that's what forces him to Hulk out. That would imply that this big fight is happening much later in the film, after the Avengers have been trying to go on their quote-unquote missions, as Captain America calls them. So by the time Thanos comes to planet Earth, they've been at it for a little while, because you see Iron Man in his brand new armor, you see Captain America in his scale armor from the comics. So hopefully that explains a little of the timeline of the film. Early fight with Thanos when they still have Captain Marvel but do not have Hulk or Iron Man or a couple other people like Ant-Man. Later in the film, everyone rallies, they get the white suits, the quantum energy, they figure out a way to fix the universe because apparently at this point there is no Infinity Gauntlet for them to use. Then later Thanos catches on to what they're doing, comes to the Avengers base to stop them from completing their plan, blows everything up, and the Avengers rally and defeat him finally. But the movie is 3 hours long, so that is just a drop in the bucket. There's still so much other plot that they can get out with all that time. So let me know in the comments, why do you think that the Avengers are using the quantum suits and the quantum energy to go travel to different places where the Infinity Stones were known to have been, like Morag, where the Power Stone was, or during the Battle of New York, where the Mind Stone and the Space Stone were? Regardless of what happens to the Infinity Gauntlet early in the film, it still seems like the Infinity Stones are a big part of the plan even later in the film. Big news this weekend is that Game of Thrones Season 8 is starting. I'll be doing videos for that. Obviously, there'll be more Avengers stuff happening in the background, but also Star Wars Celebration is happening, so we're probably going to get a Star Wars Episode 9 trailer in the morning. So of course, I'll do a video for whatever footage they drop, no worries. I'll name a giveaway winner when I post my next Marvel video. While you wait,